The weather forecast is that two hurricanes are possibly going to hit the United States mainland. They named them Marco and Laura. There is a huge possibility that they could hit mainland United States back to back, so watch the weather forecast. Tropical storm Marco will be the first part of the 1-2 punch for the northern Gulf Coast. This system faces an uncertain future in the Gulf of Mexico, but it will likely affect parts of Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and Texas next week as strong tropical storms or hurricanes. I was able to get a couple of videos online, and these are just 3 hours ago. It's 1:44 right now in the morning, and today is August 23rd. So keep watching your weather forecast. Tropical Laura will carve through the Hispaniola and Cuba, bringing locally flooding and wind. And there is an increasing but still uncertain hurricane danger for the U.S. Gulf Coast next week, anywhere from Florida Panhandle to the Texas coast. So we just need to be watching our weather forecast, and we are putting this online just in case. It's better to have the news out there than not. I've been trying to look on YouTube if there's any news. I don't see any news about this twin hurricane, the two hurricanes that are about to hit, but I did find some videos, so here is the update.
5-mile-per-hour winds, pressure holding steady at 994, and the movement still north-northwest at 13. So with all that in mind, here's the newest forecast track. Now, what this is telling us is that somewhere along the path here, we could have a strengthening through the day tomorrow, into tomorrow evening, and then Monday to hurricane status, near 80 miles per hour. Eventually, that trough gets close enough to the storm again and starts a weakening trend. That may happen before landfall. I think there will still be a push to the west. The question is, when does that happen? If it happens out here over the water, you might be saying, oh, we're going to hold on to that strength a lot longer. What may actually be the case is that it becomes such a weak system because of the shear that it no longer feels the pull of the trough to the north, and that's why we're bending to the west there. So either way, I think we are going to see a decrease in the speed of the winds, either because of land influence or because of a weakening because of that trough being nearby. It doesn't mean that we can't still have a hurricane at landfall somewhere near coastal Louisiana, so you have to prepare for that. Mostly because it's such a small storm, and a small change in that shear could mean a big ramp up in the forecast of the winds. Look at all this shower and thunderstorm action. This is real heavy rain. Expect a flood event in the Dominican Republic, maybe more so in Haiti because of the mountainous terrain and what will happen there going downslope. Of some of those mountains, we could have some really big runoff conditions, mudslides and debris flows. This could be a bad setup for Haiti, but also it is still disorganized to some degree because of that land interaction. So don't expect the core to be completely sheared apart because of those mountains poking up. Not calling for a bunch of strengthening in the short term, although by Monday evening, the closest approach to Key West, it will have begun that strengthening phase, leaving the mountainous terrain and starting to feel the warm waters of the Florida Straits and the eastern Gulf of Mexico. This is forecast to really ramp up, continuing to strengthen all the way to a landfall point. This is a larger number than you were seeing earlier Wednesday evening, 90 miles per hour in the forecast. And what the National Hurricane Center is talking about is this being at the kind of the mid-grade of the forecast models, okay? So most of the models agree that turn to the north will occur. If you get real strong and real fast, it could occur earlier. So, Alabama, Florida Panhandle, not completely out of the realm of possibility. Much more likely to go west of there, though, and still strengthening.
Two tropical storms in the Gulf at once seems almost fitting in the year 2020. Now, I know there's been a lot of talk about a superstorm with these two systems joining forces. But let me be clear, that is one thing you don't need to worry about. But it is possible with Marco and Laura that we could see a 1-2 punch with one system moving onshore in the Gulf, followed not long after by another. But there are still so many factors in play, and there's still so much that is up in the air. Now, one thing we do have is some very warm water in the Gulf, so it is likely that these storms will at least initially intensify. Now, Marco, though, could weaken once it gets closer to making landfall, and here's one possible scenario. It could make landfall along the coast of Louisiana. Then we'll be monitoring Laura following behind that system, but there is a bit of time between the two. But again, watching Louisiana for a potential landfall. But the big key here is there are still so many uncertainties, and you can expect changes with this forecast. So please continue to check back in. Multiple systems coming from two different areas and traveling two different paths. But could they end up in roughly the same place? Well, that's the big question, and a worrisome one at that, especially for those of you who live along the Louisiana coast, including Lake Charles, Lafayette, and New Orleans, because you are in these overlapping cones. Now, again, this is subject to change, but you need to take this very seriously because you've got some rough days ahead of you. First, we will be watching for potentially Marco making a landfall on Monday somewhere along the Louisiana coast. Then possibly late Tuesday into Wednesday, we will see Laura coming along, and that also could potentially make landfall here along the Louisiana coast. So please take this very seriously if you live in this area. Now is the time to prepare and make your plans.
A tropical storm might not seem like the thing that you jump to take seriously in South Florida, but they know the ramifications of tropical storms here, so they're really taking it seriously. Now, we spoke with Chris Alexander. He's a retired Army Lieutenant Colonel and a strategic planning analyst, and he talked to us about, some of the dangers that we're facing with rescues, also dealing with this time of COVID-19.
We always see dramatic footage of people like the Cajun Navy and volunteers coming in to pull people out of their homes, pull people off roofs. Well, when you're wet and you're in danger, it's real hard to keep your mask on. It's real hard to maintain that social distancing. So yes, of course, there's a chance that it could spread just because of the physical nature of a disaster like this.